We have a lot of people who come off employer plans and they need to get individual family coverage. And their first priority is, I need the best PPO plan out there. We're going to go into that today. We're going to look at the PPO plans available through Covered California, how they're different, which one tends to be best depending on the area, so you can make a good decision. Let's jump right into this video. Before we begin, we have to set the record straight. A lot of people will come off a carrier with their employer. Let's say they have Anthem PPO, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll just go get Anthem PPO in the individual family market. But it doesn't work that way. There are differences between the networks, and we're going to explain that now because it's really important. So we do have PPOs available through Covered California. Those networks are identical through Covered California or off exchange, so there's almost no reason to go off exchange anymore because the rates are the same. The benefits can be richer through Covered California. We have videos that cover all of that, but let's focus down on the network part. Keep in mind that after 2014, when the ACA law, Obamacare, came onto the market, there are different networks. So there are employer networks. There are even old grandfathered plan networks, which tend to be bigger, that are PPO. And then there are individual family, we'll call them Covered California networks. We say Covered California because when you ask your doctors, you want to say, what Covered California PPO plans do you work with? Because they'll say, oh yeah, we take PPO. Well, they may mean the employer plan PPO. And there are, Blue Shield, Health Net, United, Anthem Blue Cross PPO networks that are all different. But even within a carrier, let's say Blue Shield PPO through an employer or Blue Shield PPO through individual family, those are different networks. Now, there's a lot of overlap, and we're going to cover that in the next section on as to why one particular carrier has been much more popular and a quote-unquote better PPO plan through Covered California. But just understand, first of all, that these networks are different. They are smaller on the individual family market. Now, this may not be a situation for your particular doctors and hospitals, but it can be depending on where you live, and we'll get into that. For example, Stanford, as of 2025 right now, does not work with any individual family plans. Whether PPO, HMO, doesn't matter. Covered California off exchange, they are not contracted for this year with any individual family plans. That's been a real issue up north in the Bay Area. You go down south, though, UCLA, Cedars, we're okay. You go further down south, the Scripps, Sharp, or the UCs up and down the state. We have options there with PPO, and we'll talk about that next. But first, understand there are different networks, and you have to specify. We spend about half our time these days chasing down doctors and hospitals. So worst case, just email us the list of doctors, hospitals. We'll verify what PPO plans they work with so you know for sure, because there are a lot of difficulties in tracking that down, and we'll chase that down for you. Now, let's talk about the PPOs that are available through the network, through Covered California. As of 2025, and this can change year to year, so reach out to us. There's no cost for assistance, by the way, as Covered California agents. But reach out to us because it may change next year. There's been a slow movement from PPO to EPO to HMO, unfortunately, in the individual family market. Hopefully, we'll keep the two PPOs we have available right now, which is Blue Shield of California and Health Net. Anthem does not have a PPO. They have an EPO in certain areas, and there's a little wrinkle to that we'll talk about in the next section. But for right now, we have two PPOs, and this really comes down to area. In most areas, Blue Shield's PPO is going to dominate in terms of network because the benefits are identical, meaning if you're offered a Silver 73 plan based on your income and your situation, and right now, there's no reason to go higher than a Silver 73. That may change in 2026, but for right now, it's basically almost a gold or platinum level plan with no deductible. But if you're offered Silver 73, those benefits are identical. So then we're picking based on network. And we have two PPOs. We have Blue Shield PPO, Health Net PPO, and this really depends on area. So for example, if you're in Los Angeles or San Francisco, that Blue Shield PPO is basically the only game in town. You may have a health net, for example, down in LA, but when we run doctor searches for different people, the Blue Shield PPO network is much broader. We got Cedars, we got UCLA, we got UCI down south. And again, all up and down the state, we help people find options. But every time we look, that Blue Shield PPO is either the only game in town, like San Francisco, or the dominant game in town. HealthNet can be competitive as a network when we get out to Riverside, the Inland Empire, all the way down to San Diego, a little bit of Orange County, but really that's where they tend to be stronger, where we see, okay, when we check out doctors, they'll be with both Blue Shield's PPO and HealthNet's PPO. So your area really matters quite a bit when looking at which option. The safest bet is going to be Blue Shield up and down the state because we have all our giant networks. One other note is out of state. Unfortunately, Blue Shield's PPO does not have access to the Blue Card network, which will let you see Blue Cross Blue Shield providers in other states. Anthem's EPO does still have that access as of this year. So that's an issue. Let's say you live right on the county line. You're up in Truckee, for example, or down south by the border. Well, if you want to go to another state, that could be an issue. We should touch base on that and figure out what the options are available for you. Just know Blue Shield has a PPO, HealthNet has a PPO. Shield's network is dominant in most areas of the state. There's certain areas or pockets where HealthNet is okay. Let's talk about the other piece that really matters here. All right, cost. We have to talk about this piece. The Blue Shield PPO is probably going to be the most expensive plan in any area across the state. And really what you're paying for is network. You're paying for doctors and hospitals that charge more, probably tend to be better, I'm not going to say respected, but they're able to charge more to negotiate for higher pricing. And that filters directly into the cost of the plan because the core benefits are the same. The risk to the carrier is the same. Silver 73 across the carriers, across networks. So why would that PPO be so much more than an HMO? Well, there's more flexibility in terms of care that you can get. That's probably why you're looking at PPO to begin with. More decision making with you and your doctor. And HMO has a in-bed cost containment system where it says, all right, that's expensive. Let's try A, B, C, and D before we go to that. Whereas the PPO is more decision making with your doctor. There's less management of care, but also it's the doctors and hospitals. So to get Cedars, to get UCLA, UCSF, they're negotiating with the carrier and they're going to charge a lot more because they're some of the best networks in the country. We're down in Monterey County, but we'll go up to UCSF if anything serious comes up, just because they're cutting edge. So for things that are more serious, more exotic, think cardiovascular, cancer, all the things we see popping up, they're just top notch, right? So you're paying for that in the premium, and we have to look at that. That HealthNet plan, which is interesting, tends to be cheaper, expensive, but cheaper than Blue Shield's PPO plan. Again, that's a function of the doctors and hospitals they're negotiating with. You have to pay more for certain doctors to be in your network, and that figures into the premium. So that's one piece of it. Also, we've got to really double check on the whole subsidy side with Covered California to make sure we have our income dialed in correctly. We're using the right household member size. A lot of times, half the people we see who enroll themselves make mistakes on simple questions because it's complicated, but they make mistakes and that affects the subsidy they're going to get. So they see that PPO rate with Shield, they're like, oh, it's too expensive. Let's really make sure that's correct for your situation for this year's income. And there are a lot of wrinkles there. So reach out to us and we can walk you through that. In 5 minutes, we can dial that in to see if we can bring that Shield rate down significantly, because it does tend to be expensive because you're getting better doctors and more of them up and down the state, and more flexibility in terms of how you interact with them. So we got to dial in the income to bring that down. Silver 73 usually is the best option. No reason to go higher except for a few situations. And if you're older, 50s and 60s, that bronze may make more sense. So there are a lot of pieces to talk about. One final part of the whole PPO side, and we'll wrap this up. So we talked about the cost piece. That brings up another question. How much are the rates for you? We're going to show you how to do this. Below there's a link where you can run your quote. There's no cost, no obligation. Run your quote, put in everyone in a household, meaning everyone that's going to file together on a 1040 tax form, even if not enrolling, because that's how they look at household. Regardless of where you're living, it's who's going to file on the 1040 tax form next April. So April of 2026, as we're writing this right now in 2025. So household size is important. Then it'll bring up all your plans and rates. Make sure you put in your income estimate for this year. It's the adjusted gross income next April when you file taxes. We can walk you through if that's changing or in flux, or you're losing jobs, or things are moving around on the income front. We can show you how to dial that in, because if you answer incorrectly, even on a monthly basis on the application, it can dump you into Medi-Cal, even if you're not eligible. But it'll take them like 30 to 60 days to say, oh, by the way, that was wrong, and it's a mess. So let's see if we can avoid that up front, which is what we do on our side. Once you get that, you're going to see all the plans and carriers. You can select by PPO. You're going to see Health Net and Blue Shield's PPO if available in your area. There's certain rural areas where only Shield's PPO will show up. They tend to be across the state, which is fantastic. So then you're going to see the different levels: bronze, silver, gold, platinum. We have a video that walks you through how those work. In today's world, they're offering everyone the silver 73, which is super rich. So usually there's no reason to go higher than that. So that makes it easy. Bronze or silver, high deductible versus kind of a richer no deductible plan. We're happy to walk through that with you. If the rates look through the roof, you may be underneath the Medi-Cal limit. So reach out to us on that front. But we can look through your situation and quickly fine tune, okay, this is where you're going to save the most. This is going to be the best value. If you have health issues going on, let us know. We can take that into account, and we'll go from there. The quote's free to you. Run that, see what the rates are like. Pick a time to chat with us, 30 minutes, no cost for assistance. The rates are identical through Covered California or through us or through anyone for that matter. But we can go through in 5 or 10 minutes and quickly dial in what looks good on the PPO front. Sometimes an HMO might make sense, like in San Francisco, we're seeing that because the cost is so different, and UCSF will work with both. That's something only a local California agent who knows the market can help you with, because every area is different and the networks drive everything. That's why you're looking at PPO to begin with. Okay, that's it. That's a wrap. Reach out to us with any questions. Please like and subscribe. As we get new information on open enrollment and big changes coming in 2026, you're going to be the first to find out about them. If you stuck around this long, thank you. We appreciate it. You probably have more questions. Reach out to us. There's zero cost for assistance. You can call, email, chat, or best yet, book a time, and we can go through your personal situation to address any questions regarding California health insurance. Because a lot of sources out there are nationwide, and California is really unique. We need to go through the specifics of your situation in your area to find the best options. We don't push. We don't try to sell anything. We answer questions. And if you look at our Google reviews, you'll see that reflected in how we deal with this. We're happy to help. Reach out to us. And do us a big favor. If you could like and subscribe below, that's fantastic, so we can keep bringing this information to California.